Hello, hello, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are. It's so good to be here with you. It's so good to be connected in this space with each and every one of you. And of course, I want to welcome you into the space. You can shout yourself out in the chat. Let us know where you're connecting in from. I know where many of you are connecting in from, but shout out your city, your state, your country. Let us know why you're here, why you're excited to be here. I have some wonderful things to share with you, and I don't want to take a lot of time because there's so many great things to talk about and to share with you and to maximize the time that we have together. So, the first thing I want you to know is I have a gift for you as a token of my appreciation for you being here. So, please make sure that you stay to the end of this webinar, and I'll share with you the download link so that you can access that free gift, which is, again, just a way for me to say thank you for taking your time, for being here, for watching this webinar. But I want to get into the meat of what we're going to be talking about. You already know this is all about the romantic comedy secret to manifesting anything you want. And I'm going to show you how to manifest happiness, radiant health, success, and money using this romantic comedy principle. I'm also going to share with you the thing you're already doing that, when used properly, you can catapult you into massive success. I'm going to talk about why I won't teach you to take action and the counterintuitive method to use instead. And I'm also going to share with you the spiritual guidebook I use on a daily basis to constantly achieve success. So here's my promise to you. You will discover in this webinar a step-by-step strategy to program your mind for success and manifest happiness, health, radiant health, success, and money without retreating from life, without struggling for years or wasting time on practices that don't work for you. Plus, as I said, I have a great gift for you, and that gift for you is the sermon audio series of the 7 Habits for Prosperous People. This sermon series teaches you how to live the lifestyle of prosperity so that your life is a daily experience of miracles and answered prayers, is a daily experience of happiness, health, success, and money. And again, I'll share that download link with you at the end of this webinar. So for those of you, if I'm just meeting you for the very first time and you don't know who I am Pastor Greg, aka PG. I'm the co-founder and co-pastor of Celebration Spiritual Center based in Brooklyn, New York. I am the New Thought Walden Award honoree for interfaith and interspiritual understanding. I've been featured on the Dr. Oz show and the New Thought channel. And I have over 20 years of experience coaching and leading and supporting and empowering people from all walks of life. Now, my secret sauce is that I help neurodivergent and spiritual people manifest a prosperous life without doing it the neurotypical way, because I believe that happiness, radiant health, success, and prosperity, money, is the birthright for every living soul. So why is this webinar important? Why is what I'm going to share with you important? Well, since I started officially my coaching program, it started with 90 Days to Greatness in 2014, I have helped so many people just like you find their dream job, find and marry their soulmate, release weight, heal mentally and physically, start successful businesses, increase business profits, uncover their life's passion, and more using the very same principles that I'm going to share with you today. And the beautiful thing is that you can start using these principles today. You can start co-creating your life and manifest complete prosperity. So the first thing that we must understand in order to understand the romantic comedy secret, the romantic comedy principle, is this foundational truth right here. We live in a mental universe. Now, one of my favorite spiritual texts, the Kabbalion, this is a text that if I was on a deserted island, and this is the only book I would really need with me. The Kabbalion teaches a foundational principle. The all is mind, the universe is mental. And this is the very first principle. It's the principle of mentalism. And it's important that we understand this because we really can't practice any other metaphysical principles if we do not understand and accept this reality. Now, most of us have been taught that we live in a physical universe, that what we can see, taste, touch, and smell is what's real. What we can see, taste, touch, and smell is the only thing that matters. And unfortunately, then many of us are living our lives trying to manipulate and mold the physical universe instead of understanding that we must mold the mental universe. It would be like looking in a mirror and you see something you want to fix on your face, and you're trying to change the mirror instead of adjusting your face. Now, there's two movies that I love, two of my all-time favorite movies that demonstrate this principle, I think, very clearly and very matter-of-factly. Now, in The Matrix, we have that famous line, "There is no spoon." This is, of course, the scene where Neo is finally meeting the Oracle. Morpheus is taking him to meet the Oracle. And as he's waiting with the other potentials, he meets the character that is known as the Spoon Boy. And the spoon boy tells him something as he sees this kid bending spoons at will. He says, "Do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon. Then you will see that it's not the spoon that bends, it is only yourself." The reason this is true is because we live in a mental universe. Do not try to manipulate the mirror. Realize that it is only yourself that is reflecting in the mirror that needs to change. And so this is because we live in a mental universe that this is true. This beautiful principle that the young boy taught Neo is also echoed in another way, understanding how our thoughts control and conduct our experiment in another one of my all-time favorite movies, The Wiz. This is a scene with Dorothy and the Scarecrow. And if you know the movie, if you're familiar with the movie, of course, Michael Jackson sings his face off with the famous song, "You Can't Win," an awful, awful, awful affirmation. And after he sings that song, Dorothy says, "I'll help you get down from the pole." And of course, he tries to get down from the pole, and it's not the wonderful experience. He kind of falls and tumbles. And so Scarecrow says, "The results of the first experiment. Subject is a hopeless failure." Dorothy replies, "No, you're not. You are not." And Scarecrow retorts, right? Affirming what he doesn't want to be true. "I am." To which Dorothy replies, "You're just a product of some negative thinking. First thing we have to do is get rid of these crows." And so what we understand here is, again, we live in a mental universe, not a physical universe. And so the experiences that we have, particularly when they're unwanted, are a product of some negative thinking. And the first thing we need to do in this case is get rid of the crows. And what did the crows represent in the life and the story of the Scarecrow? Well, the crows had convinced him that he was powerless. The crows had convinced him that he was dumb. The crows had convinced him that he could never walk. The crows had convinced him of a set of rules and laws that they called the 10 Crow Commandments that he must memorize to the point of having an anthem, the anthem of which you saying "you can't win." He was simply the product of some negative thinking. We live in a mental universe, not a physical universe. And so what had become his physical universe was a product of the negative thinking, was a product of all of the things that the crows had taught him to believe. And so then he responds, "You mean all this time the only thing standing between hanging up there and living it down here were those crows?" Dorothy replies, "Well, they told you you couldn't do it, and you believe them." We live in a mental universe, not a physical universe. And our mental thoughts, ideas, beliefs, expectations then create our physical experience. So the first thing we must fully accept in order to manifest our very own happily ever after is that we live in a mental universe. The next thing we must accept is this wonderful idea that you can get used to anything. It is actually very easy to develop mental habits. Now, to my neurodivergent folks out there and ADHDers, I know many times it can be frustrating to hear when you're trying to get something done and someone will say, "Oh, just make a habit of it, make a habit of it." It's not necessarily that easy to do. But what is absolutely true for each and every one of us, all of us, and I'm going to prove it to you, is that we can easily and effortlessly develop mental habits because we can get used to anything. Some of those anythings are beneficial and some of those anythings may not be beneficial for us. But think about it for a second. You learn to speak your native language. You learn to tie your shoes. You learn to get dressed on your own. You learn to feed yourself. You learned how to brush your teeth. These are all habits that we've developed. You've learned how to drive a car. For those of you that are New Yorkers and you don't drive and may not even have a driver's license, well, you learned how to navigate the subway system. Many of us learned a new city. I live in Brooklyn, New York. This is not the city that I was born in. I've lived in multiple cities, and I've learned how to navigate this city and others. You've learned a skill that you use to generate income. You've learned how to use the internet. You've learned how to use a smartphone. You can get used to anything. And I was thinking about this in terms of thinking about you learn how to use a smartphone. For most of you on here, I'm sure you were not born. Smartphones didn't exist when you were born and didn't exist for many years. But yet we all use smartphones. We almost can't remember a time when we didn't have and we didn't use smartphones. Some of you are watching this very webinar right now via a smartphone. You can get used to anything. It is easy to make new mental habits. Now, another one of my favorite guidebooks, if I was going to bring a second book on an island, this is probably the book that I would bring with me, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he outlines this principle in a very beautiful way. He puts it this way: perhaps the meaning may be made clearer through the following explanation as to the way men, women, any people sometimes become criminals. When people first come in, stated in the words of a famous criminologist, when people first come in contact with crime, they abhor it. If they remain in contact with crime for a time, they become accustomed to it and endure it. If they remain in contact with it long enough, they finally embrace it and become influenced by it. This is the equivalent of saying that any impulse of thought which is repeatedly passed on to the subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon by the subconscious mind, which proceeds to translate that impulse into its physical equivalent by the most practical procedure available. The most practical procedure available, as Abraham Hicks would say, is just the path of least resistance. And so the truth is you can get used to anything, and it's easy to develop new mental habits when you understand the process. First, it'll be unfamiliar. You might even abhor it. A shout out to anybody that is starting a new fitness routine or recently started a new workout routine, or maybe dropped your workout routine and you're picking it back up again. At first, you will abhor it. At first, it will be unfamiliar. At first, it won't feel good. The Gospel of Thomas talks about the idea of first you will be disturbed when it talks about this same path. Next, you will become accustomed to it and endure it, right? So it becomes familiar, and so you're willing to deal with the temporary pain, again, and the idea of a workout. You're willing to deal with the temporary discomfort because you recognize you're going somewhere, and you know that trouble don't last always, and you know that this too shall pass. So next, you embrace it. It actually becomes a part of you. It becomes your identity. And finally, you will become influenced by it. Because what's actually happening in the brain on a neuroscientific level, as you're impressing your subconscious mind, you're creating a know-like trust experience. And so then the influence, your subconscious mind starts to show you everything in your world and in your life. It seems like billboards and every magazine article you read and every website you go to and every ad on social media is related to this thing that first was unfamiliar and you may have abhorred, that now you're becoming influenced by. And so taking all of this into account, that we live in a mental universe, taking all of this into account, that we can get used to anything and that it's very easy to establish new mental habits. This is really what the romantic comedy principle is all about. Now, I have some images here of some of my favorite romantic comedies, romantic dramas. Shout out in the chat. Let me know what your favorite rom-coms are. I love Love and Basketball. Love Jones, I'm sure, is a fave of many. The Best Man and The Best Man Holiday, I absolutely love. You may not think about it because it's such a heavy comedy, but Coming to America as well is a powerful romantic comedy. I'm just going to open up the chat real quick just to see what people are shouting out. What are some of your favorite rom-coms? Of course, I know Pretty Woman is one that people love. One of my favorite Christmas movies, which is also a rom-com, Love Actually, is really great. But as you were popping that into the chat, I want to talk about how we can understand this from the perspective of a romantic comedy, because actually every romantic comedy is teaching us the principles of manifestation. Most rom-coms follow a basic formula. Act one, there's interest and desire. Sometimes there's a meet cute. They bump into each other in a coffee shop, or they accidentally end up in the same cab, or They may, if it's a young couple, they meet each other in school, right? And many times there's as there's interest by one party, usually the guy, there may not be interest on the other party, usually the girl. And so Act Two is all about that resistance, right? There's something, maybe they tried to date, but it didn't work out. The date was awful. And so things just aren't working out. And so as the audience, we're looking at this and we're like, oh no, how is this going to work out? How are these two people going to get together? Because it seems like they're right for each other. And so then Act Three is always the breakthrough. Something happens, they realize that they're really in love. Sometimes they were about to marry someone else and they realize they really are in love with the first person that they met. And so they have to end everything and they run to get married to that person, right? And so then there's the happily ever after. Well, manifestation follows the same formula. Your Act One is your idea. It's your desire. It's your intention. There's something you want to be, do, or have, and you're excited about it. It turns you on. You may talk to your friends about it. You may journal about it. You may think about it every day. You may dream about it. But in Act Two, there's a resistance. In Act Two, there's fear, doubt, and worry. In Act Two, you're experiencing that thing that Napoleon Hill talked about, that first you will abhor it. First it'll be unfamiliar and you may not like it. That resistance shows up. Can I really be this thing? Can I really do this thing? Can I really have this thing? I've never seen anybody in my family with this much money before. I don't know anyone who's done what it is that I want to do. I've never seen anybody do this. But then there's the breakthrough. Act Three. And then, of course, the happily ever after, the manifestation. And so the key to understanding and really making use of the romantic comedy principle is learning how to move from Act Two to Act Three, learning how to move through that resistance, knowing that it's really just false expectations appearing real, knowing that fear ain't the truth, right? And knowing how to make truth the last word so that you move to your breakthrough. So I want to take us a layer deeper to understand what's really happening, because we can look at the rom-coms, and unfortunately, still to this day, most rom-coms are primarily cis hetero couples, right? But it's really not about a guy and a girl, right? It's about spirit and mind. And so in manifestation, we understand that anytime we see the character in a movie that is the one who has the interest first, the character in the movie who is the pursuer, they're representing spirit. And spirit represents the masculine principle. The masculine principle exists within us all, right? So I'm not talking about men. I'm not talking about biological males, right? That's not what we're talking about. Spirit is masculine because it is the masculine that is the thing within us that has the idea, that has the dream, that has the vision. Other names that folks will use for this aspect is the surface mind, is the conscious mind, is the objective mind. But this is cause. This is the thing that gets it going, right? It's the key in the car, okay? But the car is mind, right? And all of the intricacies that allow that car to be as great as it is, mind is our deeper mind, our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind, the subjective mind, or the medium by which the thing comes into being. And so this is why it's interesting. You think about it, the feminine, right? When a woman is pregnant, right? We say that she's expecting, right? And so expectation is an important part of this puzzle, that you have an idea, but then you must move into expectation. And so spirit gives this idea to mind, and mind being all-knowing, mind knowing how to bring that thing forth easily and effortlessly. In the same way, I want to go back to that slide, because I love that word that Napoleon Hill used, the most practical procedure available. So this is what mind does. Whatever the most practical procedure available. So for instance, if my desire was to have $1 million, right? $1 million may come to and through me in one way. You could have the same desire for $1 million, but it's going to come to and through you in a way that's specific to your life, your circumstances, where you live, all of those sorts of things, right? If you didn't live somewhere, for instance, I don't know, you might think, oh, well, if I won the lottery, I could get $1 million. Well, what if you lived somewhere where there wasn't a $1 million lottery? Okay, so would that mean that you can't attract $1 million? No, it just means that there would be another way based on the path of least resistance that reflects who you are and where you are. And so spirit gives the idea to mind. Mind takes that idea and then brings it into being. We call that body. We call that the physical world, your life, your affairs. That's the effect. And so this is again why we must understand that we don't live in a physical universe, because that which we call physical is an effect of spirit and mind. Spirit and mind is the mental aspect, and that's where the power is. That's where that's the creative aspect. That's the cause of any and everything. Hence why we live in a mental universe and not a physical universe. So another way that we can think about this play, this romantic comedy principle at play, it's a play between desire and expectation. Desire is the masculine and expectation is the feminine aspect within you. And so when you have an idea, when there's something that you want to be, do, or have, when you decide that you want to manifest a life of complete prosperity, a life of happiness, health, success, and money, that's the desire. And then you must work on the expectation. And then your expectation must feed the desire even more. And your desire feeds the expectation again even more. And you go through this beautiful cycle that then leads to the effect, which is manifestation. But you can continue to live in the experience of desire and expectation, which means that then more and more manifestations will come into being and come into being. And so what you can think of this is it's like your mental battery, that by practicing the romantic comedy principle and by developing interested attention and having that desire speak to your expectation and your expectation feed your desire even more and your desire feeding the expectation, it's like putting a battery into your life, but this is an eternal battery that you can keep charged in this way. Because what's interesting about a battery is you have a positive and a negative charge, which by the way, that's a masculine and a feminine charge. And what's actually happening is there's an interaction between the ions, the molecules of the two poles, and then the effect is power. It gives off power, right? We think that the battery itself is power, but what's actually happening is there's a process inside the battery that's happening, which reflects this romantic comedy principle, and then it gives off the thing that we experience as power. And so that's why this battery of desire to expectation and expectation to desire and desire to expectation then gives off a thing that we would call manifestation, gives off the experience of what we want to be, do, or have. So manifestation power is then created by your interest, your attention, and your expectation. And again, we see this in romantic comedies. That person that is interested, they start giving them a whole lot of attention, right? And they start expecting, they start dreaming and imagining. Sometimes in certain movies, there's a dream sequence, right? Where they're imagining the first time they go out, or they're imagining, and there's a dream sequence of their wedding, or there's a dream sequence of when they meet their family. And so it's important to operate in that way. And so the next time you're watching a rom-com, the next time you're watching one of your favorite rom-coms, when you see that experience, when you see the person that's really interested and they're paying all this attention and living into expectation, you can say, oh yeah, that's spirit. How can I be just like this character related to what it is that I have written down for my goals? How can I be like this character with my money goal? How can I be like this character as it relates to the life that I want to be, do, or have? And so then this means that your thinking must be persistent. It must be habitual, which is why I said you can get used to anything and develop habits. It must be constructive, and it must be consistent. We know this. I know many of you have probably talked to the screen in a certain movie because you watch a character and you're like, girl, he's not really that into you. Why are you going out on a date with Boo Boo the Fool when the first guy is really into you? Because you see Boo Boo the Fool isn't persistent. Boo Boo the Fool isn't habitual, constructive, or consistent. And we're frustrated as the audience because we're like, what are you doing? Our thinking must be persistent, habitual, constructive, and consistent. So maybe it's time for you to look at your own screen and sit in the audience of the movie that is your rom-com and decide, oh, am I actually being persistent, habitual, constructive, and consistent around this thing that it is I want to be, do, or have? Maybe I don't even really want it, right? And that's okay. It's like, you can realize that. It's like, oh, I'm actually not into this. I don't want the happily ever after for this. All good. And so you can see now that this is what the romantic comedy principle is all about. And so I'm excited to hear from you. You can let me know later and send me emails as you start to watch your favorite rom-coms, or as you think about some of your favorite rom-coms, and you will start to see this at play, that this is always a experience between spirit and spirit and mind. In Coming to America, I'm thinking about that scene as one of my favorite scenes, but yeah, I hope everybody's seen the movie by now, so spoiler alert if you haven't. But there's that moment where it seems like all is lost, right? Where, Akeem finally reveals himself as his parents have come to New York now, and everything is all messed up, right? Simi messed everything up. And so they're on the subway, and he's like, do you need me to give up my throne? I renounce my throne, right? And still she's like, no, I can't marry you, right? But there was a woman there in the subway that was like, go on, honey, take a chance, right? And many times that's what our lives, something in our lives is inviting us to do the same thing, right? That when you're in that moment of resistance, there's the opportunity for the breakthrough. There's the opportunity for you to bet on yourself. And I love to use BET as an acronym: believe, expect, and think, right? So then decide, what is it that you're going to believe? What is it that you're going to expect? What is it that you're going to think, so that you can have the life that you truly desire? So again, as a review, we live in a mental universe. This is very important. We don't live in a physical universe. We experience a physical universe, but we recognize that the physical universe is actually an effect of what we hold in mind. And so understanding that, then we know that we have to be habitual about the things that we hold in mind. And it is actually very easy for you to get used to anything. Many of us have gotten used to things that don't really benefit us. Many of us have gotten used to things that don't really serve us. Many of us have gotten used to stories that are not in our best interest, just like the Scarecrow did in The Wiz. But we recognize that there's always a Dorothy in our lives that's saying, I'll help you get down. There's always a Dorothy in our lives that's telling us, you're just a product of your negative thinking. There's always a Dorothy in our lives that's telling us that the crows told you that and you believe them. But you can get rid of the crows. You can get rid of the 10 crow commandments, and you can stop affirming you can't win. And so then we recognize that the romantic comedy principle is all about this beautiful dance between spirit and mind falling in love and living happily ever after. When you allow your spirit to speak to your subconscious mind, when you allow yourself to operate in interested attention, you develop that mental battery. And the beautiful thing about the mental battery is the outcome, the effect is power. The outcome, the effect is manifestation. So let me ask you, we've had a limited time together, and I want to know if I've given you something that you can use, that you can start to apply to your lives, even if you left this room right now. Something that would support you in co-creating the life that you want, co-creating a life of happiness, radiant health, success, and money. If you're riding with this and you're feeling good about this, let me know in the chat. Give me a yes, give me a yes, yes. And in this moment, I'm looking through the chat and I'm seeing some of the other favorite rom-coms: Medicine for Melancholy, Crazy Rich Asians, yes, yes, Just Right, The Photograph. I love The Photograph. Oh my God, I have a deep love for that movie. I'm seeing yeses, I'm seeing yes, yeses. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. So have I earned the right to spend a few minutes of time talking about how you can work with me inside of the Multi-Manifestor Mastery program? Now, I want to warn you, this is not for everyone. It's only for people who are actually ready to use the principles that I've shared today and manifest happiness, radiant health, success, and money. You can give me a thumbs up. You can give me a yes, yes. I'm seeing more yeses come in. You can give me hearts, whatever feels good to you. Beautiful. So the first thing I want to say when it comes to talking about multi-manifestor mastery, and many of you have heard me share this already, I haven't taught this class since 2019, right? So it's been 6 years. But the last time that I taught this class, we manifested $1 million in cash and value. And so I want to share with you some of the stories, some of the powerful testimonies and stories, happily ever afters, that came forth as a result of multi-manifestor mastery. One student manifested more than enough for their writing coach. I set $1,800 as my goal. I received more than enough, hired the coach, and started writing my TV pilot with ease. It felt like Source was writing through me. Spa day that paid for itself. One student said that I went for a $140 spa day. At checkout, they said it's already paid for. I just received it with grace. Worthiness and receiving. I almost talked myself out of receiving complimentary tickets to a $6,000 event because I felt unworthy. When I shifted my mindset, I got VIP treatment, extra gifts, and was welcomed in with ease. And so this is why we talk about cash and value. One of the things that we do in Multi-Manifestor Mastery is we track the value of things as well. And this is profound, profound. Creative and career breakthroughs. I walked into a casting call and was chosen to be the main character in an ESPN documentary. 3 days of filming worth $2,250. It nearly matched my manifestation goal. Family success, and I think this person might even be on the webinar right now. My son is being recruited by top 10 schools for football, including Duke. His education will be fully covered. That's $90,000 a year, far surpassing my original manifestation goal. Unexpected gifts and synchronicities. My partner received a pay raise and immediately shared half with me, taking on extra expenses so I could breathe easier. I realized I had already manifested what I asked for: support and partnership. In Multi-Manifestor Mastery, we recognize that money is just the tip of the iceberg. I think this person is also here 4 times the money goal. My goal was $3,000 to send my mom on a birthday trip. I manifested over $12,000 instead. And I believe then this person took themselves on a trip with the extra money, which is so dope, right? $625,000 in 12 weeks. This person is the executive director of their organization. Our organization raised $625,000 for our gala months earlier than expected. Our consultant of 28 years said she'd never seen anything like it. I know this class made the difference. So let me show you how to get started. Multi-Manifestor Mastery is going to be a weekly Monday night class via Zoom at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, beginning October 6th for 12 weeks. In this class, we're going to learn and practice the tools and strategies and principles that I have used to help my clients manifest happiness, health, success, and money. The happily ever afters that I just shared will be your happily ever afters. And in Multi-Manifestor Mastery, as you saw folks talking about their money goal, one of the things that we do is we choose a specific amount of money that we will manifest in 12 weeks or less, and will prove the principles that we study. So what are we going to be studying? Well, it starts with $1 Million Mastery, because if you hear me say we're going to choose a specific money amount, and you might have a lot of questions, well, what is the amount? And I see $600,000, and I see $3,000, and I see $1,800. How do we choose that amount? Well, I have a very specific way that we choose the amount, but also a very specific way that we track the amount. Because we're going to be using the Multi-Manifestor Money Tracker to track the cash that is coming in, as well as tracking the value of gifts and other things that we receive. In $1 Million Mastery, we also talk about things that I teach all the time, the thing under the thing, and how to use the manifestation equation. One of those happily ever afters you shared, they realized that the thing that they were really manifesting was support and partnership, that then outpictured as money. Okay. So then after $1 Million Mastery, then I'm going to teach the affirmation codes. I see a lot of BS affirmations out here in the world. There's a lot of folks out here on social media sharing affirmations. They're not affirmations, or they're affirmations for what you don't want. And so in the affirmation codes, I'm going to teach you what affirmation truly is. An affirmation is a code. It's a program. Think about an app that you put on your phone. And so you recognize that that's a specific set of instructions that then will turn your phone, or if it's a piece of software in your computer, that will turn your computer into something that it wasn't previously. But you got to understand how to write the code properly, and then how to install it so that it can become effective. So in the affirmation codes, I'm going to break down the different types of codes, how to install them so that you can write your own affirmation code that supports you in manifesting your money goal. Now, after we understand affirmation codes and we understand the power of affirmations and what an affirmation is and is not, now we can go a level deeper with star sign mantras. You can actually use the energy of your sun sign to manifest. And so I'm going to teach you about the specific energy of your individual sun sign and how to use that for manifestation to manifest the life that you want. But it doesn't just start there, because yes, you have the power of your own sun sign. But a star sign mantra is when you take the power of multiple sun signs, because we actually contain the entire zodiac from our head to our feet, represents the entire zodiac. And then you have a star sign mantra, which is very powerful and empowers you. But it's even a step further, because then you can begin to write star sign prayers. And so one of the things that I'm going to share with you in star sign prayers is a wealth star sign prayer that you can use, pray, remix if you'd like, and affirm out loud as you are starting to sit in the consciousness of attracting the life that you desire, and of course, attracting the specific amount of money that you've declared. And then we move into the gospel of well-being. The gospel of well-being is where I teach the 5 pillars of complete prosperity. God consciousness. Your God concept is everything. What you think and believe about God reflects everything else in your life. When it comes to money specifically, your thoughts and ideas about God are your same thoughts and ideas about money, and vice versa. So you got to get your God consciousness right. And then we got to get our prosperity consciousness right, because people think prosperity is just money. It's not. People also have thoughts and ideas about prosperity that has them casting aspersions on wealthy folks. We got to get all of that right and understand what prosperity really is. Then we got to prosper on purpose. This is where I'm going to teach you specific tools and practices that you can use on a daily basis to support your prosperity consciousness. Now, for those of you who know me and have been working with me for a long time, you know that always includes the 555, but we're going to go much further beyond the 555. That's just the floor, right? And we're going to go deeper in understanding, or go higher, I guess, in understanding the different things that we can do to support us in prospering on purpose. And again, shout out to my neurodivergent folks. I know that sometimes it can be hard to stay on task. I know that sometimes you might not be able to keep the rhythm of the 555. All good, because I'm sharing alternatives with you that you can use that will help you feel good about staying connected to source. The next pillar is give and prosper. You got to give to get. That's a spiritual law. That's a principle. But we got to understand what that means. Yes, that means giving of your finances, but it also means giving to yourself, right? You give to God, you give to yourself, and then you give to others. Additionally, that giving means forgiving. And so we're going to talk about forgiveness practices, because it's necessary. We got to keep the path clear so that our plans of prosperity can land all the time and on time. And then finally, prosper together, recognizing that it is much easier to do this work with someone than all alone. It is much easier to practice the mastermind principle. And when we practice the mastermind principle, we've actually created, as Napoleon Hill writes, a third power that then supports us in doing what it is that we want to do easily and effortlessly. So what I've decided to do for this program, Multi-Manifestor Mastery, is to set up 3 different tiers. So there's 3 different ways for you to get started. First, we start with Platinum VIP. And the Platinum VIP tier, of course, includes all of the live classes, which again, that's 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday nights. You'll get all of the course materials and downloads. There's a private community in the Multi-Manifestor app where that's going to be important, because we'll be interacting with each other. Most of your assignments will be to post in the group, the assignments that I give you. I already talked about it. The Multi-Manifestor Money Tracker is included. Also, Multi-Manifestor Blockbusters. I love this because we talked about in Act 2, you meet the resistance. And then in Act 3, there's the breakthrough. And I said that in order to get from Act 2 to Act 3, you got to know how to move through the resistance. That's what Multi-Manifestor Blockbusters are all about. I share with you very specific tools in the Blockbusters that you can apply whenever you feel stuck. Whenever you feel like things aren't going your way, you can apply one of those Blockbusters, like one that I call the Veruca Salt principle. Use the Veruca Salt principle to get you through that experience so that you can move from Act 2 to Act 3. Of course, you'll have access to the recordings in the app. All of the lessons will be added there at the end of each class. Now, in Platinum VIP, there's the bonus of the Best Year Ever course. Many of you are familiar with this course. Many of you have taken this course in the past. This is my program that I've designed to support you in preparing and planning for next year. So this is a practice that I take myself through. I'll start in October, where I read the 30-day mental diet and start to use visioning and other practices to prepare and plan for 2026. I'm giving you that class as a bonus. It's a $97 value. Also, in the VIP tier, you will receive 3 group coaching sessions in addition to the classes. So any other questions that you have, if you want to go deeper, have some closer support with me, that's what you will receive in those group coaching sessions, and that's a $297 value. In the Platinum tier, the only thing that's different is you'll get everything that I just named, but you will not receive the bonus of the 3 coaching sessions. And for live access doesn't include the bonuses, and you will have access to the recordings of the class for the duration of the class. And since the class will actually end in December, it'll actually be through the end of the year, because we'll be going into the holiday season, and you might want to review the classes while you're on your break. So you'll have access to those recordings through the end of the year, and then that access will be removed. So you may be asking me, thinking, well, what is the cost? What is it going to cost for me to get involved in this? The VIP tier is $997. The Platinum tier is $597. And the live access tier is $397. So again, the differences are VIP, you receive all the bonuses. Platinum, you receive all of the bonuses except group coaching. Live access, there are no bonuses, and you will have access to the recordings through the end of the year. The next question you may have for me, okay, PG, are there payment plans? Yes, there are payment plans. Each tier has a 2 payment plan. So that means that you can get started for $200. That's the live access. If you want the Platinum plan and you need the payment plan, that's 2 payments of $300, and VIP is 2 payments of $500. One of the reasons that I set this up as a 2 pay instead of a 3 pay is because I don't want y'all to have these payments interfering with your holiday. Right? So make your first payment this month, second payment in October, and then you're not worried about trying to pay off a class and also buy some toys for your nieces and nephews. Okay? So I think that's helpful and effective. But again, whether you choose the payment plan or whether you choose the full pay, you'll get the bonuses in your tier no matter what. Platinum VIP is $997, Platinum is $597, and Live Access is $397. So to reserve your seat today, you can scan this QR code. You can screenshot this if you want, if that feels good to you. I'm going to pop this in the chat as well so you all have it. Let's see. Have the link. Beautiful. And I want to make sure that you understand the process because it can be confusing. So when you go to the website, one, I encourage you to do this from a computer rather than the phone because it is easier if you do it from your computer. But either way, when you go to the page, you're going to see this page on your phone, your tablet, or your computer. Scroll to the tier that you want, right? The first button is going to be for the full pay, and the second button is for the 2 pay plan. Once you click the button that you desire, you're going to be asked to log in. If you already have a Multimanifestor account, then where that arrow is, look for where it says log at the bottom where it says log in. And that's what can be confusing. People start to create an account, but you actually want to log in if you already have an account. If you do not have an account, then create one, right? You could try to create one and then you may find out, oh, I do have one already, okay? So make sure you log in if you already have a Multimanifestor account. If you don't, then create a new one, all right? If you don't remember your password, you'll see there you can click to forget password and go through the password reset. Once you've logged in, then you will be at the page where you can enter your name and your credit card information. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understands those steps, but of course, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. No worries, we'll get you squared away. Oh, there's one more thing. For everyone who registers, the first 20 registrants that register by September 20th, I am going to send you an exclusive gift. I'm going to send you this journal, which has the Multi-Manifestor motto and mantra, it's still possible. I always say, remember, a prosperous life is still possible, and it all begins in mind. And so you can use this journal. This will be your personal journal that you can use for class and take your notes and keep everything in one place. And I always love to have journals that are special, right, for a specific purpose that give me a certain vibe and a certain feeling. And so that's my desire for each of you that register and get this journal. So the first 20 registrations that register by the 20th, I will send you this journal. It's a really high quality journal. I love it. I'm kind of a snob when it comes to journals, so y'all know I'm gonna send you something that's good. This ain't, something flimsy, okay? But again, I thank you all. I thank you all for being a part of this webinar. I thank you for hanging out with me. The last thing I share with you for those that stay till the end, and I'm going to put this link in the chat as well, your gift. You can scan the QR code or you can type this in this bit.ly link, bit.ly/rom-com -gift. This is wonderful because this audio series, this sermon series is available on YouTube. You could go watch it right now. But of course, the audio series, you'll have it with you. It'll be in the Multi-Manifestor app. You can watch it online or offline. You can pause and stop. You can speed up the audio, all those good things. Shout out to those like me who like to listen to audio sped up. You'll have that available to you and to take wherever you want to go. Similarly to when you sign up for the class, it's the same thing. When you go to this link, you're going to be asked to log in or create an account. And it actually starts with create an account. So if you already have an account, make sure you log in first. And then once you log in, it'll take you to the payment page. But of course, this is a free gift. As you see there, it'll say free 99. If it doesn't say free, then that means you've clicked the wrong link. So then just click the button and then you'll have access to the free audio series. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I will take some time. If you have questions, we can talk for a little bit. In the coming weeks, I'll be talking more about the program, talking about the things that we'll be learning: $1 Million Mastery, the Affirmation Codes, star sign mantras, star sign prayers, and the gospel of well-being and the 5 pillars of complete prosperity. So appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And I look forward to seeing y'all soon and manifesting. I'm naming $2 million this time. We're going to do it together. It's going to be powerful. Okay. Bye for now.